Hello, I'm Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Literary Love 123, where I combine my master's in English with my passion for the horror genre to talk about the books that I read. Today's video is a vlog. This is week 5 of Halloweenathon and another awesome week of the Spooky Scary Skeleton Readathon. So, let me tell you what my plans are for this week. So, first of all, I want to talk about a movie that I'm going to watch this week or rewatch because not only is this one of my favorite movies, but it is also my recommendation as part of the Monster Squad for Halloweenathon. Whoop, I'm just going to throw papers all around. I'm so excited. Okay, so the prompt that my movie this week is going to fit is a prompt from Katrina, one of the co-host, and also, like I said, one of my favorite movies that is my recommendation. So the prompt is Ginger Snaps, and the prompt states to read or watch a werewolf book or movie, and I have chosen Ginger Snaps. So yay! I'm so excited to revisit Ginger Snaps once again. I also recently wrote an article about ginger snaps for Night Tide, so I will link that down in the description box below. So let me talk about the other prompts that I'm going to be fulfilling this week. And the prompt that I'm going to be fulfilling for the Spooky Scary Skeleton Readathon is prompt number 1. Read a classic horror novel. So I'm actually reading 2 books for this prompt. I am revisiting The Woman in Black by Susan Hill, and I have tabbed the hell out of this book because I read it and wrote a paper about it in grad school. So it's going to be fun for me to go back to it without the added pressure of having to write a paper about it. So I can just read it for pleasure for the spooky season. But I do really love the book. And then I am finally getting around to a classic that I have never read. And that is Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. I went ahead and read like the prologue and chapter 1 last night, but I don't really want to talk about anything with the book yet. Since this is an intro, I want to wait till I get into like the meat of this vlog before I talk about the books. And then carrying over from last week, I am continuing to listen to the audiobook of Salem's Lot by Stephen King, which is a comfort revisit for me. Salem's Lot is my number 2 favorite book by King. Number 1 for me is It. And I've revisited Salem's Lot like 4 or 5 times. And I just needed a comfort audiobook right now. So I will also link my last vlog down in the description box below too. So you can kind of hear, about why I arrived at revisiting Salem's Lot for my audiobook. Other things I have planned for this week. We have a busy week going on. I'm meeting one of my older daughters for lunch tomorrow. And then on Friday, I'm going with another one of my older daughters to a Poe Speakeasy event. I am so, so, so excited. This event takes place in Mobile, which is about I'm just gonna knock that microphone around. I'm so excited. It's about a 45-minute drive from where I am, and I am just thrilled because we get 4 stories acted out and 4 different cocktails to go with each story. So I'm really excited about that night. And then the following night, I will be, along with my husband here at our home, hosting an engagement party for the daughter that is going to the Poe Speakeasy with me. She and I went wedding dress shopping yesterday. She found her dress. She said yes to a dress. And her wedding is going to take place in October of next year. So we're throwing the engagement party for her at our house Saturday. So very busy week, very busy weekend. and I'm excited to be able to take you along as I go through this wonderful week of October. So I am going to go now. Hello, so it is a car check-in. It is Monday. It's about 11, and I'm going to be meeting my oldest daughter for lunch in a little while in Mellow Mushroom. I've just left my youngest daughter's school. They had a special parenting meeting today talking about disability and guardianship that we have to get done for our child before she reaches the age of 19. Information about Medicaid waivers, very overwhelming stuff. So I'm a bit stressed out right now because there are a lot of things, like I don't go into specifics on my channel, but when you have a disabled child, there's just a whole other layer of things that you need to deal with in preparation for not only your child getting older, but you as a parent getting older and preparing for your child's future. And it is very overwhelming. But I have gotten to chapter 8 in Something Wicked This Way Comes, and I like it so far, but it's one of those books I can tell for sure I'm gonna have to take my time with, because the language is, I mean, it's classic, like 1962, and Bradbury writes very descriptively, so it's not a book that I can really rush through. But so far we've gotten introduced to the two boys, Jim and Will, and they're best friends, and they're like 13, and they are kind of opposite in some ways, but they draw together. One of the passages talked about how one of them will slow down to walk in step with the other, and the other will speed up to walk in step with the other. And I just wanted to read something from the first chapter, or actually from the prologue to be exact. One year, Halloween came on October 24th, 3 hours after midnight. So that lets you know something creepy's coming up. It's something, unexpected that's gonna happen. And one other passage I want to read to you. Somebody pulled up, and it's my daughter, so she'll just know what I'm doing over here. So one other passage describing the October night. Charles Holloway put his hand to the saloon's double swing doors, hesitant, as if the gray hairs on the back of his hand, like antennae, had felt something beyond slide by in the October night. Perhaps great fires burned somewhere, and their furnace blast warned him not to step forth. Another ice age had loomed across the land. Its freezing bulk might already have laid waste a billion people in the hour. Perhaps time itself was draining off down an immense glass, with powdered darkness falling after to bury all. So you can see what I mean with that very descriptive writing, very atmospheric. But I'm gonna go now, and I will check back in with you later. Bye. Hello, it's Tuesday around noon, and I have not read anything else since I checked in with you last time when I was on the way home yesterday afternoon. Like I said, I had about a 30 to 45-minute drive, and instead of listening to Salem's Lot, I just cranked up an autumnal playlist because I just don't feel like I could have focused on any reading yesterday. Once I got home, it was time to get my daughter off the bus. Then I was cooking dinner. And then last night, before my husband got home, I watched the first episode of Uzumaki on HBO Max. I have the manga. I love it. So I will try to get another episode in today, but I'm not sure I will. Also, my husband and I have been watching The Outsider, which is the HBO Max series based on Stephen King's novel, The Outsider. I read The Outsider last year and really loved it. So we have gotten through the first 5 episodes of this series, and both of us are enjoying it so far. Other than that, I've got a lot of cleaning I need to do today. And while I clean, I am going to be listening to Salem's Lot because I feel like I'm in the headspace today to be able to focus on it. I am about halfway through it now, I think, but don't hold me to that. I am going to go now, but I just wanted to give you a quick update of what yesterday afternoon and last night were like, and what I plan to do today. I will see you in the next check-in. So talk to you then. Hello, it's Thursday morning around 9 o'clock. I will be teaching my mythology class in a little over an hour. Today we are going to be talking about Aeneas and his adventures as he leaves Troy and goes on to found Rome. I did not check in yesterday because I was very busy with cleaning, and I've mentioned before that my daughter and her fiance are having their engagement party at my house on Saturday. So a lot of cleaning and prepping is underway for that. But I did take some time to go outside and read a little bit yesterday. And I want to talk to you about something wicked this way comes. I have only made it to chapter 19, which is page 77. And there are 264 pages in Something Wicked This Way Comes. And I hope to get it finished by the end of this week, but it may have to extend into next week because the prose is very beautiful, but it's very challenging to read. It's whimsical and fanciful, and sometimes I'm not really sure of exactly what's going on, but I'm just trying to roll with it and enjoy Ray Bradbury's very descriptive writing. But I did want to talk about something interesting in Something Wicked This Way Comes. So this is like one of the boys' fathers reflecting on what it's like to wake up at a certain time in the middle of the night. Midnight's not bad. You wake and go back to sleep. 1 or 2's not bad. You toss but sleep again. 5 or 6 in the morning, there's hope, for dawn's just under the horizon. But 3, now Christ, 3 a.m. Doctors say the body's at low tide then. The soul is out. The blood moves slow. You're the nearest to dead you'll ever be, save dying. Sleep is a patch of death, but 3 in the morn, full wide-eyed staring, is living death. You dream with your eyes open. So that is interesting in and of itself, just that passage and the way that Bradbury describes what it feels like to wake up at 3 in the morning and what medical experts say about why people wake up at 3 in the morning. Then I was listening to Salem's Lot as I was cleaning yesterday, and I have made it to part 4, The Lot, which is on page 379. And again, like I said, I'm not reading it physically this time. I'm listening to it, but I'm going back and tabbing in the physical book things that are standing out to me in the audiobook. So keeping in mind what I just talked about from Something Wicked This Way comes about that concept of waking up at 3 in the morning. Here we go from Salem's Lot. At 3 in the morning, the blood runs slow and thick, and slumber is heavy. The soul either sleeps in blessed ignorance of such an hour, or gazes about itself in utter despair. There is no middle ground. At 3 in the morning, the gaudy paint is off that old whore, the world, and she has no nose and a glass eye. Gaiety becomes hollow and brittle, as in Poe's castle surrounded by the Red Death. Horror is destroyed by boredom. Love is a dream. So, just those two intersecting passages in the novels that I'm currently reading about the concept of waking at 3 in the morning and why that feels like such a haunting, eerie time to wake up. So I thought that was really interesting. I hope to finish Salem's Lot as I'm getting more cleaning done today. And I am loving it just as much as I always have. Like I said, I think this is the fourth, maybe fifth time I've revisited it. And I still love the building dread. We have gotten to the part where Barlow is sort of out in the open, at least for a few characters anyway. And the suspicions that our main characters had about what might be going on is confirmed, so that is no longer suspicion, it is evidenced. And definite nods to Dracula, like I talked about previously, the heavy influence that Dracula and reading that at a young age had on Stephen King as he was writing the story of Salem's Lot. I don't really want to say a lot more about some of the connections to Dracula, because if you haven't read Salem's Lot, I wouldn't want to spoil that for you, or if you haven't read Dracula. But I am going to go now and get prepared for today's class, and I will check back in with you when I have something else to talk about. Hello, it is Sunday around 11:30 in the morning. I am so tired. I did not do any check-ins Friday or yesterday because it was a very busy weekend. Friday night, one of my older daughters and I went to the Edgar Allan Poe Speakeasy. And then last night we hosted an engagement party for that same daughter and her fiance here at our house. And so it was a very good but chaotic weekend. And as a person who will be 50 next year, I realize I cannot pack two major events into one weekend without some repercussions. I am so tired. But let me tell you a little bit about the Edgar Allan Poe Speakeasy. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I'm going to link their group down in the description box below, because they go all around the country to different places and put on this performance. And let me just say, if they're coming anywhere near you, it is worth your money and worth your time, especially if you love Poe as much as I do. So they did 3 stories and 1 poem. So I'm going to use my little sheet here because it has on the back the different cocktails. Yes, did I mention there is a cocktail for every performance? So 4 cocktails. That's a lot. So let me tell you about the first cocktail. It is the Pale Blue Eye, and it was a classic twist on a traditional Collins. And this, of course, was the drink they served to go with the Telltale Heart. So it had citrus and blueberry infused vodka, fresh squeezed lemon juice, and simple syrup. And then they topped it with a pale blueberry eye. The second drink was called a Cat's Meow, and it was served to go along with the Black Cat. It is a twisted version of Poe's favorite brandy milk punch. And it was actually my favorite. Now, my daughter didn't like this one because she doesn't like bourbon and they put bourbon in it, but I loved it. It was like a taste of fall. So I would line up perfectly with Poe. We could have shared one of these drinks together as we discussed literature. So let me tell you what was in this. Aged bourbon meets with fruity brandy, accompanied by vanilla, cinnamon milk, sweet cream, and maple syrup. Oh my God, it was so good. The third cocktail was the Nevermore, obviously to go with the Raven. What was I fixing to say? The Raven head. I don't know. I'm tired. So Nevermore to go with the Raven. Fresh lime juice, peach and orange blossom infused vodka, simple syrup, and crushed charcoal topped with dehydrated lime. And then finally, we had the cocktail of Red Death, of course, to go with the Mask of the Red Death. This drink was my daughter's favorite. This one had fresh squeezed seasonal fruits, raspberry infused vodka, cranberry juice, 100 proof vodka, and fresh lime juice. And it was topped with a rose garnish. And it was amazing. The performers were fabulous. It was just a wonderful, wonderful time. And then yesterday morning into the afternoon, all we were doing around here was prepping for my daughter's engagement party. And it was Halloween themed. So I apologize because, as you could tell from the short clip, I only got a little bit of video. I did not take any pictures. Where was my brain? I don't know. Just exhausted and too busy trying to host and make sure everybody had what they needed. And so I did not get the pictures that I should have gotten. But we had a s'mores bar, which was a lot of fun. We had a fire pit so people could roast marshmallows, but I also just had like marshmallow cream in case somebody didn't feel like roasting marshmallows. And we had peanut butter, Nutella. We had, traditional graham crackers and Hershey's chocolate and marshmallows. And we also had some fudge stripe cookies and other things if anybody wanted to think like outside the box with their s'more charcuterie board. We also had wine, beer, that kind of thing, punch. We had several different kinds of dips, sandwiches, cocktail sausages, vegetable tray, 2 different cakes. They were both homemade by someone who works with my husband. They were beautiful. I didn't have any of the cake because I had a couple of s'mores. I was like, I don't need all this. But one of the cakes was like chocolate and it had like some caramel icing on it. And the other one was an apple cinnamon cake. And everybody talked about how good they were. So it was a lot of fun, but I'm tired. My only plans for today, because we did most of our cleaning up last night after the party. Thank goodness. My plans for today are to read. So let me talk about what I'm reading. I'm still very slowly working my way through Something Wicked This Way Comes. I've made it to part 2, which seems like maybe it's going to be a little bit more fast paced. So I'm hoping I can finish it today. It is like 260 something pages and I'm on page 142. So I don't know. I would say that I could easily get through that many pages, but if you've read Something Wicked This Way Comes, Ray Bradbury's writing is very descriptive and very whimsical. So it takes a little bit of time to kind of process what he's writing. But I did want to give one example of some of his descriptive writing. Out on the highway, the last faint watercolors of the sun were gone beyond the hills, and whatever they were chasing was so far ahead as to be only a swift fleck now shown in lamplight, now set free, running into dark. And just some of the themes that I've picked up on are coming of age and not wanting to grow up, just wanting to kind of stay in that childhood. And then also on the flip side, some young people are ready to grow up. They're ready to leave behind their childhood and go into adulthood. And if you have two friends that feel differently about that season of life, then you can naturally expect there to be some kind of conflict between them. And there's also a theme in one of the young boys' fathers. He's wistful and kind of wishing that he could go back to his childhood. But there's one scene where he like climbs up the like a trellis or something like that outside the house with the young son, and it's just kind of capturing in that moment a little bit of his youth, a little bit of admiration from the child to his father, that even at his age he still did something like this. So I'm really appreciating the book. I honestly can't say that I'm loving it. It's a bit of a struggle for me to get through it, but I can appreciate what's happening in it. And I want to finish it because I want to see what happens, but I also want to be able to say I've read this classic finally. Also, I finished listening to Salem's Lot Friday when I was getting some of my cleaning done. I was able to finish listening to my audiobook for Salem's Lot. And I just want to talk about how much I still loved this. It's still a 5-star for me. It's still my number 2 favorite Stephen King book behind it. And I just wanted to share just one of the passages at the end that speaks to the importance of the Marston house, which if you've watched my previous vlog, one of the many, many issues I had with the 2024 Salem's Lot movie is that they really did not make use of the Marston house as they should have. But I just want to say this sentence right here at the end of Salem's Lot. The town kept its secrets, and the Marston house brooded over it like a ruined king. I just love this book. There's not much else I can say about it because it would probably give away too much. And if you haven't read Salem's Lot, now's the perfect time. And also in this vlog, I had planned to get to my reread of The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. This one is a very short book, so I feel like I could possibly finish Something Wicked This Way Comes today, and then maybe start and finish The Woman in Black tomorrow so that I can conclude this vlog. That is all for my check-in right now, and I will see you in the next one. It's Tuesday, October 29th. I am finally wrapping up this vlog. I'm going to be short and sweet because you can probably tell that I'm losing my voice. Not sure what's going on, allergies or something maybe. And also my daughter's going to be home from school in about 10 minutes. But I did finish the Something Wicked This Way Comes. And this is probably an unpopular opinion, but I ended up giving it 3 stars. While I appreciated the descriptive and beautifully written prose, the story itself was very difficult for me to get through. I appreciate the themes that I mentioned, previously in my check-ins about coming of age and recapturing youth and very nostalgic kind of vibes, but it just didn't wow me. I also did my reread of The Woman in Black. All of these tabs are left from when I read this in grad school. It was a 5-star read for me again. And it is really a perfect Gothic story. You have the past haunting the present. You have ghostly apparitions. You have creepy sounds out on the marsh. You've got the secluded house, the fog, a very sad ending. It's also the frame narrative where Arthur Kipps is telling the story to his family one Christmas Eve. So also a callback to the tradition of telling ghost stories around Christmas. It really is an excellent read for spooky season and also for around Christmas. And I'm going to wrap this up now. In my next vlog, you'll see us carving pumpkins, handing out Halloween candy, doing s'mores, all kinds of fun stuff. So be sure you check out my next vlog, and I will see you then. Bye.